Hey Revolutionaries, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Monica Ortega, where we're talking about her new book and her new course offering that she's taking people through. It's based on the book. The title of the book is The Power of Pivoting, How to Embrace Change and Create a Life You Love. Yeah, I love her story. She's got a great backstory of, this divorce that came into her life that it kind of disrupted everything for her, but brought her real clarity in terms of designing a life that she loves. And she's really an interesting person. She's been into acting and singing and hosting music festivals and figured out that, hey, she had to create some opportunities for herself on her own and created a YouTube channel based around travel, the things that she likes to do. She likes hosting, she likes traveling. So I don't know if you guys have been watching Monica Goes out there, but check it out on YouTube. I know you guys are really going to love this episode and get some real beneficial takeaways from it. But before we get there, I just wanted to focus, this Monica's episode is timely in this regard, in that we're talking about her love of travel, but also, the power of pivoting in this moment. Because I feel like, I need to check in with everybody right now and just see how everybody's feeling, because this just hit me just the last few days. And the feeling I have is that because the pandemic is subsiding, the economy's opening here back in the U.S. and also around the world, of course, that there's going to be real massive opportunities. There's going to be a rush. I feel a rush coming on, a rush of opportunity, financial opportunity, new job, new avocations, and also a rush for travel because travel is reopening. And so now's the time. I just wanted to kind of clarify it for everyone that if you're thinking about reinventing yourself, thinking about trying a new job, thinking about getting back in touch with humanity, gathering again, going back on the road, I think there's going to be massive deals. People are hiring all over the place. Now's the time. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And, just embrace it, okay? All right, enough said. Let's get to Monica's episode because I can't wait for everyone to hear this. This episode of Jim's Reinvention Revolution is brought to you by MGS Graphics, a graphics production support firm delivering services to ad agencies, graphic designers, brand managers, retailers, and product manufacturers worldwide. MGS Graphics is not only reinventing, they are revolutionizing graphics production support. So how do they do it? Well, they free up your team to focus on big ideas while MGS Graphics handles the execution. Their skilled experts are ready to jump in when your project load spikes so you can avoid the headaches and extra overhead cost of hiring new staff. Plus, you won't lose out on work opportunities because of delivery and production timelines. Did you know their skilled staff of professionals use the best and most widely used graphics software on the market? And when it comes to project management, MGS Graphics provides the highest level of customer service by assigning you a dedicated project manager. And they use the industry-leading project management software to ensure all communication, deadlines, and deliverables are met. This allows teams and clients to collaborate with each other in real time, no matter where you are around the world. Need more than just production? MGS Graphics also has a fully staffed creative team. Ask about their design services and agency partnerships. So, if you're looking for a partner to accelerate and support your business's growth, go to mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR for 15% off your first project. 15%? That is revolutionary. Go to mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR. That's mgsgraphicspro.com/JJRR.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit jimreinventionrevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim.
Hey everybody, hey, this is Jim. Welcome to episode 83 of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and I'm talking today with Monica Ortega, and we're talking about the power of pivoting. So Monica, welcome to the Reinvention Revolution.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being here, and we were talking earlier right before I hit record about that you're a morning person and that you got up this morning and tell me what time it is, first of all, out west here in Denver.
It's 8:00 right now. I got up at 4:45.
Oh my God. That's just incredible to me. And you didn't just get up, that you've gone for a workout, you went for a run or something. What'd you do this morning so far?
Yeah, trail run. It was the first day. It's actually kind of looking like spring here in Denver, so it was beautiful. Got outside.
I got you. What's the temperature? Do you know, like roughly?
This morning it was about 45, so It wasn't too bad.
Okay, so it's still pretty cool. Yeah, it's here in Cleveland, it's about probably 55 now, and it's sunny. Okay. It's going to be about 60 today. But just a few days ago for like Mother's Day, it snowed.
Yeah.
Like it's like a late snow. Did it snow in Denver?
Yeah, we had snow and hail, and then it's supposed to be 72 today.
Yeah.
Like, Denver makes no sense to me yet.
Exactly, no sense. But anyways, I'm excited about the spring, and thank you for getting up so early, but you're a morning person. That's kind of inspiring to me for some reason. Like I said, I love when I get up early, even though I don't do it very often. But anyway, speaking about the weather and how the weather is pivoting, okay? Tell me about this new book that you released that it just came out April 1st, I believe you said. And it's called The Power of Pivoting. And, of course, we're all about reinvention here on the Reinvention Revolution. So what's that mean, and why did you write the book?
Yeah, it's interesting because about a year ago, I never planned on writing a book. So this was new to me. Mm-hmm. But 2020 happened. I hosted a travel show and I was an MC at big events. Well, obviously all of that came to a halt.
Right.
And I suddenly saw the world, panicking and freaking out about change and loss. And I've been through some of that in my past. And I've, kind of built out these tools for myself. And I thought, well, let me see if I can help some other people by putting this down on paper. And I don't even know if I have anything. And I sat down, I think it was like 3 weeks later, I had a book and I thought, oh, okay, I guess I've learned some stuff. So yeah, my goal is really to help people learn to embrace change and sort of see opportunity in those moments.
I see. Well, I love this idea, and I think this is, of course, right on time, because we're all probably rethinking our lives a little bit. And, when I started the podcast it's maybe almost 4 years ago now, I was just I just hit this transition phase, which I'm sure, everybody hits at some point in their life or their career. But I felt like it was being accelerated just because of the things I could see. This is a few years ago now. I've been in this tech world, and I've always developed advanced technology products and those kinds of things. And I thought, man, the world that I see coming is really interesting. It's going to be affected, a lot by technology, about a lot how we communicate and all those things. And now with the pandemic, obviously, it's ramped it up. So, in you writing this book, how did you think about your life, I guess, previous to the pandemic, previous to writing the book, and how do you think about it now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I grew up figuring change, which is ironic. I was afraid of everything. And then I started my travel show back in 2014, realized I'm afraid of everything, sort of dove in and started facing my fears on the show and showing other people that if I could do it, they could do it as well. So that was a big part of me shifting to the person I am today. But then in terms of like the book and everything, so a few years ago, I went through a divorce and had the rug kind of pulled out from underneath me. And it was the first time in my life that I asked myself, okay, well, my world just blew up. So what do I actually want? What do I see from here? And started kind of building out that life. And so now, going into 2020, actually, I was kind of in hustle mode with the travel show. And I'd gotten on the hamster wheel and couldn't stop at that point. So I was kind of grateful for a little bit of a break. But I've realized since then, I don't overanalyze as much because you never know when that rug's going to be pulled. So you can plan the best you can. It's good to have goals. It's good to have all of that stuff in place. But then you kind of just got to go with the flow and let everything else go and just see what happens. So I have way more fun in my life now. I feel like when change happens, I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on this way.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I think that people, if they start getting open to change and they start actually changing and kind of going with the flow, I think this sort of happiness component or having fun component with the changes that are coming, right, is key to the whole thing. So that's one thing I never, like early on, I think I was more like single-minded in terms of in order to have success or get ahead or accomplish things in my life, it was always about working hard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about, celebrating or having fun or being, happy-go-lucky about it, because that was what had worked for me. I was a good student. I worked hard. I achieved all these things. But kind of as when change comes, I don't think that's quite the right response in a way. Like you kind of have to figure yourself out, right? Is that kind of how you were thinking about it? Because when you go through those things that are really tense and affect your life, you kind of need to get happy. You got to work on your mindset and your mental, outlook, right?
Yeah, exactly. I felt like up until that point, I was kind of, checking the boxes of life, feeling like, okay, you go to college, you get married, you have kids. And I'd never really asked myself, what do I actually want? And so I feel like there's so much opportunity when we're pivoting and we're going through that stuff, if we can shift our mindset and start to see those opportunities. But, 2020 was interesting because everybody's dealing with change and loss, and pivoting became this really big word. But the truth is we're always pivoting and we're always changing. And so the sooner we can get on board with it, the better off we'll be the next time that rug gets pulled or something else changes, because we're like, okay, I've been through this before. These are the tools that got me through. I know that there's good stuff on the other side of this. So let's just keep going. Right.
Well, we're always changing, and the world is always changing, whether we want to recognize it or not, or whether we're conscious of it or not, right? That's the thing that's like, hey, we all got to kind of open our eyes a little bit now these days. But so you decided to write this book, and you thought you could, help people. So tell me, what's in the book? Give me some idea, sort of a concept of what's in there and how it can help people.
Yeah. So I use myself as an example, but as I always say, it's not a book about me. It's a book for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So there's different chapters on different things. There's pivoting in relationships and what that can do. Obviously, I talk about my divorce. There's pivoting in careers. I've jumped around, in the entertainment industry for 20 years. Yeah. So learning how to deal with the rejection or the loss or, those different things that you feel when you change jobs. There's a lot on mental health and building out a mental health toolkit and getting rid of those barriers so that when those big changes do come, some of the unexpected side effects of mental health, you're sort of more prepared for. We're never fully prepared, but it can hopefully help. There's global pandemic. There is definitely a chapter on that, which, is very timely, but it's also just, that's always happening maybe on a smaller scale. So let's say your town goes through a tornado or something, there's global, and I guess not global, but there's local disasters that can affect an entire area. So that can really play a big part on the mental health of everybody surrounded by it. We're feeling it now with the global pandemic. So yeah, just protecting your energy and different things like that. And then there's a lot on goal setting and figuring out what you want to do and how to create that plan of action to get there.
I see. Well, it sounds awesome. And, I'm glad you mentioned this mental, what'd you call it? Toolkit? Mental health toolkit. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to make sure I got it right. How do you approach that? Because I think, to me, like mindset, mental health, obviously you need mental health. You need to, be healthy with how you're thinking, how your brain's working, all those kinds of things. But the mindset part is also a big component to it. So how did you work on that within yourself? And, how do you take people through that in your process?
Yeah, well, first of all, definitely say I am not a mental health expert. These are just things that have worked for me. And so I'm putting it out there in case it can help somebody else. But so for me, the first time I experienced depression, it was actually that change from high school to college. You never really see it coming. I was on top of the world. Nothing can go wrong. And they wanted to put me on medication. And there's nothing wrong with that for anybody, but it's a personal decision. And for me, I'm extremely type A. And I was like, nope, I'm going to figure this out. And so I started putting these tools in place. I would build out a calendar and talk about good days, bad days, and unbearable days, and then just check them off until there was no more unbearable. I started creating that depression toolkit of, okay, here's some things that may work, whether it's today I'm going to stay in bed, tomorrow I'm going to call a friend, I'm going to go for a run. And then you sort of pick and choose these different things until one works. And so that sort of worked for me, just building that list out. And then after my divorce, I started experiencing anxiety, which was a whole new batch of fun.
Interesting. Okay.
So then I went back and kind of created another list because the same things don't always work, right? I can't meditate if my brain's going a million miles an hour. So maybe it's an angry run or dance it out or, these different things of pulling myself out of that spiral. So it's not necessarily about once you're already going in that spiral, it's really trying to put these in place the second you start to feel that coming on to hopefully prevent it or at least lessen it.
I see. I like that. Okay, very good. Well, you have the book experience out there, and I think when I saw the mental health toolkit, it was listed under this new program that is starting, I believe, Monday. Well, we're recording this. I'm not sure what day we're recording this. What's today? Today's a Thursday, and the next Monday, this new program that you've put together is starting, and it's called the. I'm sorry, what's it called, Monica? What's it called? Yeah, pivoting with a purpose. I forgot my purpose. How could I do that? Okay, pivoting with a purpose, and so is this a course or experience that's come out of the book? Explain to people what that is.
Yeah, this was, I feel like this whole experience has been sort of unexpected for me. I was actually doing a mentorship with a girl in the travel space, and she'd had this goal for 7 years and just couldn't get past these barriers that she had put in front of herself to actually go forward with it. And after about 1 hour, she had a launch date. We had a plan of action, all this sort of stuff. And I was so fired up, and I thought, I want to do this with more people. So it's a 6-week program, comes with free book of mine, free workbook. There's a Facebook accountability group, but it's really helping people. The first half is going to be breaking down those barriers, getting past those fears, figuring out what's holding you back. Then we go through the process of let's figure out what you actually want to do, and then putting those things into place and creating a plan of action so that hopefully when people leave, they are ready to go. They're all fired up for their next pivot. So yeah, this is the first of many programs like this. So this is the pilot program, but I'm going to be starting some more as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very cool. Well, I like this idea that, the book is interesting, and I'm like someone that's over the last few years have kind of started devouring more like, self-help and mental mindset type of books. So I really like that idea. And for me, I've kind of figured out for myself, and I think this makes sense for most people, is that, I was into working out and taking care of my body, doing sports, and you do that on like a weekly basis, 2 or 3 times a week, where conceptually, I never thought about my mindset, about working on my mindset 2 to 3 times a week, right? Working out my brain or my mind in the right way. So that's why, continuing to kind of discover these types of books. That's why I want to keep having people like you on the podcast and, turn the audience on to these types of things. But having the 6-week course that goes with it is really cool. So if someone wants to get really hands-on and say like, I need to, match my behavior or actions with the stuff I'm feeding my mind with, right?
Yeah. And I had years of doing branding and social media management as well. So I think that helps because I love looking at people's own goals and like breaking down, okay, how can we actually get you there? Because it's really just chunking it all down, right? So once you know the big plan, or, I do an exercise where I'll visualize my perfect day from like waking up, who am I next to? What does it smell like? Where am I in a city? Am I in the country? And then I work through like, okay, what does my work day look like? And then you can actually put those into place now. So if in my ideal day, I'm getting up and I'm going for a 10-mile run and I'm not a runner, okay, well, let's work it back. Okay, today I can start with 1 mile or walking half a mile. So you start already doing those practices throughout the day, and then you're already on the track to hitting those goals, and then being open to pivoting and whatever else may come along the way.
I gotcha. Well, oh man, it sounds like, what's always curious to me is how people get to these places in life. Okay, like you said, you had these disruptions in your past, like everybody that goes through, certain changes in their life. But you were able to kind of pivot and move into this entrepreneurship world, where you're producing and marketing products and really helping people. So I want to rewind a little bit and figure out, well, how did you get here? Like, how did you? I know your travel channel came before, which is Monica Goes, right?
Yeah.
Can we rewind a little bit and say, like, who were you kind of more growing up a little bit? Like, when you got out of high school or college, what was your first sort of working world experience, and how have you learned these skills to kind of keep moving in this right direction? Which I think, again, for people listening to the podcast out there, this is what's available to all of us now. We can really design our lifestyles in a different way. We can go after goals in a different way. We can reach out for expertise and coaches, like someone like Monica, is here to talk to everybody about today. I mean, it's really amazing kind of how the world's working, but how did you get here? Because growing up, this world wasn't here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because so I'm a creative person. I was a musical theater major, so I bounced around in entertainment. I went to Nashville to sing and write country music, and then I lived in LA doing acting. So I bounced around in this creative field, but I've always been like I say, extremely type A. So I have these schedules, I like checklist, all these things, right?
Okay.
Well, then I lived in LA for 10 years and everyone's super woo-woo. So it was all these like, vision boards and meditation and, stick a house on a board and then you'll get it. And I was like, I don't buy into any of that. And then I started seeing it work for people. And I thought, okay, there has to be a way to combine the two. So I thought, okay, I can do these practices of figuring out what I want, goal setting, all of the woo-woo stuff that I learned in LA, but then combine it with the type A part of, all right, if I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there this way and I'm going to schedule it out and I'm going to create these routines for myself. So I think it's probably the combination of like having that creative side, but then also, being super type A. But yeah, I mean, I've been in entertainment for 20 years. So it's a lot of adapting, a lot of dealing with rejection and auditions and going, okay, well, the music thing didn't work. Let me try acting. And then the acting thing doesn't work, but the music thing comes back. So you have to sort of be adaptable in that way. And there's so many different jobs I've done. I mean, I was like a rodeo clown and I was Miss Chiquita Banana. I mean, I've done the most random jobs in the world.
Oh, okay.
So I've learned to just kind of go, well, let's see what tomorrow brings.
Maybe you can send me like your, Chiquita Banana, picture for the album cover. We'll talk about that later, but that would be fun. Well, anyways, okay. So having these experiences, I think being in the creative world kind of demands of you in a way to be an entrepreneur, right? You have to kind of be sort of out there on your own, figuring it out for yourself, because there is really no clear, corporate track, so to speak, in the creative fields. I mean, that's kind of why it's a creative field, I guess, right?
I think one of the things that everyone's sort of learning now is, working from home and creating your own schedule. And I remember I was in Nashville and I was doing acting work. I had, agents in 5 different states that I was traveling to so I could do it. And I had a job and I got let go of the job, which it was a temp job. So, it wasn't like a shock.
Right.
But when I got let go, I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to do acting full time, I need to treat it like a 9 to 5. So, I mean, I would write out hourly, okay, I'm going to work on submitting myself for these 2 hours. I'm going to call agents for this hour. And you build out a work day for yourself. And I think that's one thing that entrepreneurs don't do as much, is they just kind of, it's easy to get distracted with our phones, with social media, with working from home. And so it's really like putting those things into place helped me now.
Right. Oh, for sure. Well, that's one of the challenges of being on your own, not having a boss, and all those kinds of things, kind of figuring out how to structure your day. But again, it's kind of demands those entrepreneurial skills, even though you're going after this creative, job endeavor or whatever it might be. So, in thinking about this, of all these jobs, is that what led you to your travel show in terms of like thinking about the internet or being a YouTuber? Was having this background in arts and entertainment?
Yeah, well, I definitely didn't plan on being a YouTuber. That was not a goal. I don't even think I ever watched YouTube.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
I didn't want to run my own show. That was not part of the plan. But I was in LA and I was actually reading the book You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. And I was kind of like not unhappy, but just not completely fulfilled in the acting world. And it was like, when are you your happiest? When are you your best self? And for, I think, 15 years now, I've been hired as a host and an MC at events. And I thought, that's it. I love hosting.
Okay.
And so I had a teacher tell me, create your dream show as a way to get auditions. She said, it's no longer you go in for the Travel Channel and get an audition.
Right.
They have to find you. And so my dream show was outdoor adventure and travel shows. I grew up watching Samantha Brown. And so I would just hike and film it on my phone. And then I had a friend say, you know what, I'm going to sit down next to you and you're going to edit this episode and I'm not leaving until you do. And I had to Google and figure out how to edit. I had to figure out how to do social media. So I kind of thought, oh, someone will see it and I'll just get a travel show. but,
that's how it works, right?
Yeah, but I loved it. And I fell in love with what I was creating. Like I said, I realized I was afraid of stuff. And I thought there's a space here to inspire people. And I didn't see girls that looked like me out doing outdoor adventures. They were size 2 girls with 6-packs, adrenaline junkies. And I'm like, no, here's me crying on a hike, but I loved it. And here we are 7 years later.
That's really cool. Well, you get to bring your flavor to it. And that's what's so interesting about, the internet and how all the, it was a sort of a, broadcast environment of the 20th century. Now it's a niche cast or narrow cast environment where everybody can find their own niche, and there's audiences out there that want to see all these different things now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really cool to discover that. But this I like this way you approached it, because I was thinking, because you were in arts and entertainment, you're into acting, whatever, you're thinking like, aha, this is the new vehicle, being a YouTuber, to just be an actress or to, be like in the public eye. But you really came at it.
I wish I was that smart about it.
Well, you really. I mean, I think it's starting to become obvious now. If you're a celebrity out there, like being on ABC is whatever. Yeah. Versus having your crowd that you're actually really developing, have the relationship with on YouTube. But I like that you kind of came at it from just hey, I want to be happy. I want to do things I like to do. Yeah. I want to lean into the skills that I have. And go there first and develop the other skills around it. Like you said, you didn't know how to edit video, but you said, hey, I want to travel. I like traveling. I want to be a host. I want to do those kinds of things. I'm going to fill in the other skills around it. So that was a really cool way to approach it. And again, for people that are thinking about reinventing or doing something different with their lives or pivoting, right? I think it's a great example.
I will say the biggest mistake I probably made that I tell people is to, even if you don't necessarily see it this way, treat it as a business, at least in a little way. Because I was, doing well acting, and I was throwing all of my acting money into traveling. I was like, this is fun. And then, that runs out a few years later. So I would say put things into place to think ahead and create a plan of how you're going to do it, which I definitely didn't do.
I got you. Well, good. Right. Good advice there. Very. Okay. So so now through the pandemic, are you still doing the travel channel now? Because what's been going on, how did that affect your business, or how you're thinking about doing this travel channel blogging now?
Yeah, I mean, it was the end of a lot of my business. I mean, all the travel contracts dried up. Like I said, I MC music festivals; those stopped. I was speaking at conferences; those stopped.
Right.
So yeah, it was kind of a blank slate, which is where it opened up space for the book and the other things. But I have done some local travel stuff. We did a series for North Idaho when things kind of cleared up a bit. But it's been a lot of local hiking, local restaurants, and in fact, my boyfriend and I, we just started Denver Diner Duo because we thought, well, let's support local restaurants. We like to eat, and it gives us a little bit of content. So I'm kind of creating these mini videos until things pick back up just to keep it going. But it's funny, actually, the channel's never done better on YouTube because people are searching out outdoor adventure, and I'm watching all these travel influencers that were luxury hotel people start hiking and things. And I'm like, hey, I've been doing this for 7 years. So, people are looking at road trips. They're looking at adventures in their backyard. And that's always kind of been the focus that we've had. So in fact, it's getting more views, even though there's not as much content coming out these days.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I think that makes sense, I guess, for people pivoting. You're not flying to a destination necessarily anymore, or wanting to stay in a hotel. Maybe you just I want to go to the national parks now or something else,
Yeah,
so.
One of my big goals too, I think down the road is going to be to have retreats. So the 6-week mastermind would be in a weekend full of adventure as well. So I think that's going to be in the pipeline at some point, because I don't ever want to give up the adventure part, because I think there's so much value in facing your fears and really breaking out of that comfort zone. Oh,
absolutely. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did have one question for you in terms of your adventure, YouTubing career here. Because I was checking out, you've done a lot of sort of extreme things, or extreme to me anyways, because you're facing your fears, right? But what was the one thing, I'm talking about skydiving and bungee jumping and those kinds of things. But what was the, if you can share with people, what was one of the, I guess, adventures that you had that you really gave you pause? Because some people, I think you're a little bit more of an adrenaline junkie. You get up in the morning, you're really looking for experience in life. But for someone like you, what really gives you pause? Because, jumping out of a plane would give me pause. I'm not that adrenaline junkie guy.
Well, what's funny is, so I'm not either. I really am not. But I realized at a young age, I will do a lot of stuff on camera that I won't do not on camera. So I remember, one of the first hikes I was doing was Angel's Landing in Zion. And if anybody knows it, there's drop-offs on either side. And I said, I'm not doing this. And literally I went on camera and I said, you know what, if I'm going to make a travel show where I'm facing fears, I have to do this. And I've been back and I've done that hike plenty of times. I won't do the end because I'm good. I crossed off the list. And I have a producer who's more of an adrenaline junkie than me. So she'll push me because she'll be like, I know it's on camera, you're going to do it. But the
okay.
one that really gave me pause, that if we weren't filming, there's no way I would have left, was actually my second time whitewater rafting. And I was terrified my first time, but I had a blast. And then the second time I fell out in a pretty bad spot. It was a pretty scary experience. And, you know, even my producer, I tell her, I say, film everything. And I'm having a full panic attack, and she's got the camera, and she's like, is this okay? And I said, film it. It's okay. And I'm like having a full panic attack. And it was a 2-day trip. This was less than an hour into the first day. And I said, I don't want to go on. I don't want to do this again.
Oh yeah. And, that's tough when it happens early on into the experience. And you're like, you have 2 more days to think about. Oh.
Yeah. And I had about 2 weeks where I didn't really sleep well. Like, I just kept having nightmares. It was pretty rough. So I have said I would do it again on an easy run. I was like, I'll do like 2s and 3s again, just to get back into it, because I never like to end on a bad note. So, you know, I always believe in trying everything twice, and, you know, in this case, 3 times. So I never like to end on a bad note. So I'll definitely do it again, but I think that one pushed me a little bit more than I was comfortable with. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sounds interesting. Okay, well, thanks. It's just you know, little things that roll around in my brain of curiosities that I'd like to find out about people. And another one is, since I got you here, and you are an expert at this now, because you've been a host and an MC type person for all these years. And, you know, now I think everyone is getting this experience, whether they want it or not, of being on camera, doing Zoom calls with people, you know, running podcasts like me. I'm not a natural, you know, host necessarily. What are there tips out there that you can tell people about, like, being on camera, or you know, being in this environment where you have to be on video a lot with people? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say if you have a really big fear of it, before you go on camera, build yourself up. Tell yourself amazing things about yourself, you know, stand in that superhero pose, look in the mirror, whatever you got to do to build yourself up. So I used to have a horrible stage fright, and I was a singer. My mom would say, you have a great voice, and I can tell you're terrified. And so she said, but you're really good at acting, so act like a rock star. And so, I mean, I would dress the part. I would give myself the faux hawk. I would, you know, take on this whole persona before I did a band gig so that I felt comfortable. So, and I'm not saying to like wear costumes on camera, but do whatever you have to do to put yourself in a place where you're almost falsely telling yourself that you're good on camera. And then I would say, take a deep breath. Maybe don't have some caffeine beforehand if you're really nervous. And then
don't
just act
have
like
caffeine. Okay.
No, I mean, unless you're like, it's early morning or something, but sometimes if people are nervous, that can amp it up. And then I would say, just act like, you know, you're talking to a friend and relax, because the truth is everybody's probably thinking of what they look like on camera and not what you look like. So, I mean, it's kind of true. So,
well, that's true. Yeah. We're always, you know, when the ego pops up and we get that fear coming, you know, it's like we're very self-focused instead of worrying about the audience, or, you know, that's.
I'll tell you an awkward story. I was singing the national anthem one time, and I forgot the words, and I ran off crying. So,
oh my God.
So, you know, it happens to the best of people. And then I came back, and I've sang the national anthem for years at events. So you know, put yourself back out there, try again, even if you screw up, because everybody does. So
That's right. Wow, that's a great mindset challenge too. But, you know, and you learn that throughout experience. You know, I've you know, I play saxophone, so I've been in bands and been on big stages and stuff like that, and I get super nervous before I start playing all the time. Doesn't matter how big the gig is or how small it is. But like once you start playing, and then you realize that you're there for the audience, all these other things, you sort of get out of your own mind, right? And then you know, enjoy it, and then you're more natural, and you'll look better on camera. But it can be a challenge for everyone now. It certainly is still for me.
Yeah, so. And one thing, I know they do this in sports, and I feel like it works in entertainment as well, is visualizing how you want it to go beforehand. So even if it's just closing your eyes and for 5 minutes, picturing yourself as a super confident person on camera, giving that presentation to work, and everyone smiling, you know, picture it the way you want it to go, and that can help ease some of those nerves as well. Right.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, we got a few minutes left on the podcast here, but before we get out of here, there's always a couple questions I'd like to ask people that come on, and one is about technology. So it doesn't sound like you grew up, you know, being like really a nerdy techie person, but now you're kind of, you know, you're really diving into all the skills and, software and techniques and technology that you need to deal with today. How are you thinking about technology in terms of dealing with it, or, the benefits, the drawbacks? How do you think about it?
Oh man, my love-hate relationship with technology. I will say it's one thing I probably should have delegated and will in the future in terms of like website, just some of those small things. But also, if you're just starting out, there is information out there to learn. So, I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I Googled a lot. You can take courses on things. I've taken a course on Pinterest and different things, use Clubhouse, jump in the rooms to learn. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of information out there if you want to start piecing it together. And I do think it's important that everyone has sort of a base knowledge, because, you don't want to pay somebody $1,000 to fix a typo on your website because you don't know how to do it. So it's good to know how the things work, but yeah, it's definitely not my skill set, and in the future, I would love to delegate some of that.
Well, I hear you. I mean, I think it's affecting all of us, and for me personally, like I decided to step back a little bit from the engineering consulting business that I have, to just learn about some of these other technologies that I know are going to continue to impact our life in a bigger way. Such as figuring out digital marketing, digital media, figuring out podcasting, figuring out how to do some web design. These are things that are going to be very, very beneficial. Figuring out cryptocurrency and the digital economy that's coming, that's really going to affect us. It's like you got to take the time to do it.
I know. One thing I did, so when I started, is I had a weekly schedule for the travel show. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like Tuesdays. I called it like my admin day or something, or learning day. And that was the day that I set aside and thought, okay, this week I'm going to work on Twitter, and this week I'm going to work on editing. And that was my research day, because I think so often it can go one of two ways. Some people get bogged down in research and they can do that forever and never hit the go button. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a balance of both. You can get stuck in books and courses and never produce.
That's right.
But on the other flip side, you could just ignore that stuff, and then you're not moving forward or onto the next technology. So I would say give yourself a time, even if it's just a couple hours a day, and write down what it is you're going to work on that day, whether it's website design, like you said, cryptocurrency. And for these 2 hours, I'm going to learn about it.
Right. Yeah, take some time to do somewhat of a deep dive. Just trust in the process, and it's going to benefit you eventually. Yeah. Get after it. Okay. Well, Monica, I have one final question for you. Can you share a reinvention revelation with the audience, like something that you've discovered about yourself along the way in terms of being able to pivot or being able to embrace technology and embrace the new world of entrepreneurship with all the stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, I think my big one, again, was after my divorce, and realizing that if you don't like something, you can leave, and that change is inevitable. The sooner we get on board with it, the better off we'll be. And that it's actually really, really fun when you get curious instead of fearing it.
I like that. Yeah, that's some people are super afraid of like being fired or getting laid off, or these changes that they know can enter their life. But once you go through that and understand that doesn't kill you, it doesn't affect you that severely, and you come out the other side, it can really light your life on fire in a way.
Yeah, and I say too, honor your feelings. I think that there's a place for loss and excitement at the same time. I think a lot of us felt it last year, and so you can't just be like, well, lost the job, time to shift that mindset. I think there's a little bit of both too. So honor how you feel, but then. Yes, when you are ready to move forward, learn to lean into that pivot, and there's a lot of really good stuff.
Very good. Well, Monica, thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. If people are interested in checking out your book, The Power of Pivoting, or digging your this new class that you're holding, Pivoting with a Purpose, I think I got it right that time. How should they reach out to you or find you out there?
Yeah, so my website is monicajortega.com. And then the travel show's on YouTube at Monica Goes Show. That's pretty much across social media. I'm at Monica Goes Show. And the book's available on Amazon.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time. And remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it and will help others find the same value that you found.